Now, Ukraine's recent successes have left some opponents of Russian President Vladimir Putin's war emboldened to speak out against the Kremlin. One of Russia's most celebrated pop stars, Alla Pugachova, has asked to be declared a foreign agent in solidarity with her exiled husband, Maxim Galkin. He was designated a foreign agent less than a week ago. In an online post, she said Putin's war in Ukraine was killing soldiers for illusory aims and turning Russia into a global pariah. And for more, we can cross to our correspondent, Yuri Roshetto, who joins us from Riga in Latvia. Yuri, are you hearing about a shift in Russian public opinion regarding the war, given its military setbacks in Ukraine?
Well, Alla Pugachova, who you just mentioned, is by far the most famous person who dares to express her protest publicly. She enjoys very much respect in Russia. She's a legend for millions of fans. So her statement could indeed evoke the feeling of enough is really enough among Russians. But there is still another part of Russian society, people who still support President Putin and his policies. According to polls conducted on behalf of the state, we still find stable 80% of Putin's supporters. At the independent Levada center, the numbers are slightly lower, but still show an overwhelming majority for Putin. However, Levada has found that potential protest sentiment in the country has grown somewhat. Currently, 16% of Russians would participate in any protests, Levada says. And we also asked some people in Moscow if their opinion has changed and found out that, of course, Russians are talking about their own casualties more than before.
We can't change anything anyway, only feel sorry. It would be better if we had not withdrawn. At the moment, Ukrainians occupy those cities which we had liberated. There are always wars everywhere. That's why it's better not to know anything about it.
My position hasn't changed. I feel sorry for our boys.
There are 40 million people living in Ukraine. To occupy them with 100,000 soldiers or to carry out this special military operation is undoubtedly unrealistic.
All right, Yuri, so definitely not overwhelmingly for, although, as you say, most people do still support their president. There is, though, a petition, isn't there, circulating against Putin from local Russian politicians. Could this make a difference at all?
Well, the initiative of local politicians is remarkable, let's say it this way, for two reasons. First of all, because public people are daring to protest against Putin's policy now in these times, that is courageous, no matter who it comes from, including the singer Alla Pugachova we spoke earlier about, and dangerous. The reaction of the authorities has shown that the authors of the open demand of Putin's resignation, local politicians from St. Petersburg, were interrogated by the police and accused of discrediting the Russian armed forces, which can lead to a criminal case with up to 15 years in prison. The second point is very interesting, that word of this initiative spread very quickly on social media. Many people in Russia presented it as something really big because they didn't understand that it was coming from local politicians. When they heard the word deputy, they thought of the deputy of the Duma, the parliament. And so this relatively insignificant action was turned into something much bigger.
Yuri, if I can ask you, Russia has suffered losses on the battlefield in 7 months of war. Now there is talk of a general mobilization. Do you think that is something that's likely to happen?
Well, mobilization is a very difficult subject, Anya. On the one hand, this Russian military clearly needs more soldiers. There are advertising everywhere in the country promising a regular income. There are even media reports that Russian mercenaries are recruiting in prisons with the promise of reducing sentences for those who choose to fight. And of course, this shortage of manpower could be solved much more quickly with a general mobilization. But such a mobilization is politically questionable because it would be very unpopular in Russia. It would mean that the war would become a reality for all Russian families, whether they want it to or not. So far, I think the time for a general mobilization hasn't come yet.
Yuri Roshetto in Riga. Thanks so much for that.